Good morning. We'll call the meeting to order, please. It's 8:30. Certification of open meeting law requirements. Dave, are we okay on that for open meeting?
Open meetings requirements have been met.
With that, we'll do the roll call of members. Kevin, if we can start on your side.
Here.
Lyon here.
Sorgi here.
Anderson here.
All right, thank you. Additionally, we have staff members Dave Carlson and Jack Hay, and Becky is also here. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we adopt the agenda for the April 1st meeting of the Parks, Tourism, and Economic Development Committee. Is there any debate? Seeing none, we shall vote. All those in favor of adoption of the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 And those in opposition, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. We'll have the agenda adopted. Next, we'll take a look at the minutes of the regular meeting of April the 4th. If you had a chance to look at them,
March 4th.
excuse me, March 4th, my apologies. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of March 4th?
I'll make that motion.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, motion by Kevin. Would you like to
I'd be happy
second
to
it?
second that.
Renee, thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the March 4th regular meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approval of the March 4th regular meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition? Motion passes. The regular meeting minutes of the March 4th meeting are approved. We're now available for public comment. The call-in number is 715-538-1894. 715-538-1894. With that,
I just want to make a comment, and it's a thank you to Dave. A couple of weeks ago, he gave up his Sunday afternoon and late morning to attend a Farmers Union meeting in Pigeon Falls. He gave a nice update on the potential for more agritourism in the county and the potential for direct marketing and development of local food markets. I think it was well received, and there was probably 20 people there. So that's some dedication for public employees to give up their Sundays. So thanks much, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
thanks, Dave. We appreciate the effort. That's excellent. With that, great introduction for your report on economic development and tourism management.
I am going to first give a quick update on Great River Road. I just realized I inadvertently left that off the agenda. Jean's not here today, but she did send me a note. She wanted me to let everybody know that the Wisconsin Great River Road Visitors Guide is done. It's right here. It's being mailed out and delivered to the Wisconsin Welcome Centers, rest areas, etc. We have somewhere in here a nice full-page ad. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it's in here somewhere, trust me. But anyways, yeah, we have an ad in there. Great River Road Guides. We will have a box of them probably sent to us. They haven't arrived yet.
Okay, thanks.
We still got plenty of Trempealeau County Visitors Guides if you need some of those. Other things she wanted me to let you know is they did complete their joint effort marketing or GEM grant application. They're trying to get some money to do some enhanced marketing of the Great River Road. That was due today, I believe, and they should know within a month or so if they're going to get that. There's some designation or recognition that the Great River Road is looking for from the National Highway Administration, waiting on that. July 31st through August 10th is the Wisconsin State Fair. Wisconsin Great River Road will be present there somehow, either going to co-op with Explore Lacrosse or get their own day. They don't know when it's going to be yet. I did talk to Gene in email about us possibly sending some of our visitors' guides with them, or Explore Lacrosse to get distributed. So we'll see how that pans out. And finally, the last thing Jean wanted me to mention was that she did attend, as did I and Danielle Johnson, actually, the Governor's Conference on Tourism, which was held 3 weeks ago in La Crosse. It was fabulous. It's always the most high-intensity, stimulating conference that I go to. Just a lot of energy, a lot of new ideas, some detailed stuff, which, is interesting, but it's just more the enthusiasm of, and bringing together and networking of how these different communities around the state are marketing themselves and how they work together to bring visitors. So really a good thing. And with that, I'll move into my portion of the report. Becky and I continue to work on development of an economic development grant program that, in broad terms, will make some small grants available to startup businesses, entrepreneurs, and then also make some money available for facade improvements in our downtown or central business districts, I think. Both of those are something that really have been an identified need over the last 3 years I've been in the job. I routinely get probably 1 or 2 calls a month asking about, business startup grants, and we don't have anything. And there's honestly not anybody to refer them to for that kind of thing. Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation had a program a couple years ago called Main Street Bounce Back that was really successful, and then there was no money to continue that. So that will be an exciting thing once we launch it. We're working with a publication, national business-to-business publication called Business View Magazine. They did an article on Trempealeau County a year ago, and they're doing a follow-up article now, just because they've heard some good things are happening and that there's, this population growth coming. So we'll be featured in that again, I think, in May they're shooting for. Buzz talked about the Farmers Union meeting that I went to March 16th. That was a great experience, and got to hear, also what some of the concerns are with just agriculture in general these days, with some uncertainty on various things. Sorry. Got so many things today, I'm trying to keep track here. We did get correspondence back from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation in response to the resolution the county board did. It's brief, I'll just read it. This is from Daniel Shavy, the WISDOT Southwest Region Director. Thank you for sharing Trempealeau County Resolution 2025-0201 regarding the WIS 35 bridge replacement projects. Wisconsin DOT is continuing to examine options to determine a preferred alternative for construction. Project team has been soliciting input from the construction industry and partner agencies on feasibility of maintaining traffic during the project, as well as the estimated costs. We're in the process of applying this feedback to the range of alternatives and aiming to have the preferred alternative determined this summer. Thank you again for the county board input. We anticipate conducting further outreach with local officials and stakeholders when the preferred alternative has been selected. So I still don't know what they're going to do. I am considering writing just a follow-up letter, thanking for that, and asking if if they might also take a look at just the economic impact of the proposed closure. So we'll see what they say.
Dave, are the communities coming with similar letters?
Village of Trempealeau did put together a similar resolution.
Okay. I think that's
So,
powerful.
and I've been in contact with Isaac Pooler, the village administrator there, about it. I shared the response we got with him, and I copied Bridget Turner too, since she represents that district.
She's the kind of on both boards, so it'd be the.
Yeah,
county,
exactly.
The dual, yeah.
Our GEM grant strategic planning is really plugging along. We've got our next meeting number 5, April 22nd. At our last meeting, Pilch and Barnett presented what they call the brand statement that they developed, and I thought I had a copy of that with me. Yeah, I do. This is kind of long, so I'm not going to read it, but I will email it out to the committee. But Lynn Pilch from Pilch and Barnett read this at the last meeting, and I think, everybody agreed that it really captured the essence of Trempealeau County. And it's something that not necessarily is going to be, used in marketing, but it's sort of to anchor us to some themes. So I know when she read it, actually, when I read it in advance of them presenting it, I had like the voice of James Earl Jones reading it, and it kind of gave me goosebumps. So I don't know, maybe we will record it just with a short video sometime, because it is kind of fun. But they've been a pleasure to work with. At this next meeting, they're going to present some branding guidelines, as well as the outline, or what they call the WIRE framework. It's like, think virtual WIRE, not like actual, of a new website. And this is something that we've talked about as a committee for a while now, about getting us off of the, governmentese, limited flexibility and limited design creativity website that we're on, and really getting something that is uniquely ours, that Parks and Rec could also be included in. So that will be the outline, and we are then kind of hurtling towards completing this first phase GEM grant project. And the plans are to apply for a year 2 GEM grant sometime this summer, early fall. So that will be a continuation. I've been talking with Chris Hardy at Seven Rivers Alliance about helping to pull together a business roundtable sometime in May. Seven Rivers Alliance, if you don't know, is our designated regional economic development organization. And so that's what we'll do, just talk about kind of open-ended, what are some, sort of more global concerns, as well as, some micro concerns of businesses. Continuing to meet with my University Alliance team, Trempealeau, as I call them, students from UW-Madison. They're actually going to come up this Sunday for a field trip. So they've only got a few hours, so I can't get them across the entire county, but we're going to take a look at Galesville, Trempealeau, Arcadia, kind of get them through that southwest corner of the county. And they have a final project that they have to have done by April 24th, so it's only 3 weeks away. They've been putting together a survey that they're going to do with, I think we settled on about 15 businesses. Bob, you'll probably be getting a call from them if you haven't already, because you're on the list. But the questions they're really asking, kind of open-ended, but trying to get at, some themes here. What kind of businesses are not present in Trempealeau County that would be good fits with our outdoor recreation economy and to attract more visitors. It's trying to get at kind of a recruitment strategy. What kind of businesses do we need, and where might those businesses be? So I don't have any idea exactly what to expect that they're going to come up with, but they've been very enthusiastic, and I think that it's a good project that we've been involved with. Social media, we added 72 followers last month to Facebook. We're just sitting a little shy of 4,300 now. And Instagram, we added a few. We're at 701 followers. There is an 8-county outdoor recreation meeting next week. This is that group we've been working on with our neighbors like Buffalo, Pepin, Dunn, Chippewa, Clare, Clark, and Jackson, I think, are the 8. I'm going to pass this out. This is just a meeting next Wednesday here that Mississippi River Regional Planning, which is working with the 8-county group, is going to host here in the county boardroom. So that's an opportunity to come and talk about outdoor rec if you're so inclined. And finally, last thing I have put some work into recently is I did attend virtually this Department of Tourism Outdoor Rec Office do-it-yourself economic development impact or economic development report workshop. They have another one next week, and if you attend both of them, which I plan to do, then you can apply for a consultant-supported project to determine the economic impact of, something outdoor rec related within your community. So I think it's a good opportunity for us. Linda Mossman from Oak Park Inn was also on the call last week. So what we're going to try to do, I will put in the application. It's probably a summer project that we will be doing if we get selected, and I think some of it will be, or a big part of it, the way I would envision if we got the grant, would be to actually be doing some visitor surveys, hotels, campgrounds, and ask some of the questions of like, where did you come from on your visit? What are you doing? Are there things that you'd like to see? Whatever. Just trying to get at economic impact. Probably have more, but that's all I have on my list.
Dave, is that a meeting that you'd want us to be at as far as that meeting next week here at the county board?
If you're so interested, I'll pass around the flyers. Again, what I think they're trying to get at is, it's just understanding outdoor recreation needs and preferences of residents, businesses, and visitors to Trempealeau County. So it just, even if you come to listen, I think it's valuable. It's scheduled from 6 to 8.
Have they got their draft plan done for the 8 counties yet, Dave?
So here's, I think the answer to that is no. And I'm a little confused because once the planning commissions got involved with this thing, it's kind of taken an interesting turn. So, the 8 counties have been meeting as part of the Rural Partners Network for almost 3 years now. And we applied for and were awarded this, USDA Rural Development Block Grant, or Rural Business Development Grant, I guess is actually what it's titled. And it was to come up with an outdoor, kind of a plan to promote the 8-county region. So it sort of feels like the 2 West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, Mississippi River Regional Planning are developing like an outdoor recreation plan, which I think is right, but it's supposed to be kind of as part of this broader project, there's some marketing and attraction and branding that would go along with it, which the planning commissions are not doing. They're not communications, marketing firms and stuff. So, no, the answer is no. I think this will be part of the product that the 2 planning commissions come up with.
Because I thought that woman that they hired to head that up in Eau Claire was supposed to be inventorying existing outdoor rec businesses in each county, wasn't she?
I
I sat
think,
in on some of that. and
Yeah.
That was my interpretation, and I didn't know if it got done in Trempealeau County. or
yeah,
not.
things have, nobody asked for that information, so I'm not sure what's going on with that.
Well, I think
It's-
maybe if we attend, we should make that ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would ask about that. And I'll be honest with you, I may have sent this business list that I did have. In fact, now that you mention, I think John Bingle did ask for that, and I sent him a list of 150 some businesses that we put together.
Is John coming on?
Yes. Mississippi River, MRRPC is hosting the meeting here,
Right.
so.
Okay.
But yeah, it's, like I said, once the regional planning commissions got involved as, the contract agencies, our little core group got expanded significantly. We have a meeting this afternoon, quarterly Rural Partners Network
Okay.
meeting, so I can ask there too.
That'd be great to kind of sow the seed.
Yep,
Bring us something useful, I guess is my point.
I agree. I agree. Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, it's, Becky and I had a meeting last Wednesday with Linda Mossman and Travis Mossman. Travis had developed a brochure a number of years ago, highlighting the bike routes in Trempealeau County. He's going to a biking event this summer in Iowa. I forget the name of it in the acronym.
Ragbri?
Huh?
Ragbri?
That's the one. Right across something Iowa.
Bike right across Iowa.
Yep, yep. So he was asking about whether we could help with printing up some new brochures. I think the supply must be dwindling and they're maybe a little bit out of date. So we're going to be working with him on that. Just, I can't imagine it's going to cost that much to print up a few thousand brochures. And we'll just take it out of the tourism marketing budget because I think it's a win-win for us.
I think it's a great place to promote the trails in Trempealeau County. I mean,
Yep.
I think we're sort of notorious for our good trails here. I mean, I'm not a biker, but that's what everything I hear.
We were somewhat surprised with all the enthusiasm that Travis has for the bike trails, that he's not a bicyclist. But many kudos to him for putting the time and effort and being persistent and trying to get us to partner with him on this. So we will be working on that in the next.
I assume that trail map
weeks.
is up on the website, our website?
We included the trail map actually in the visitor's guide.
Okay.
So, and there is,
That's what I thought,
there is a
yeah.
link, yeah, there is a link out there on the website as well. And I plan in the next month or month and a half to sort of hit that a little bit hard in our Facebook promotions to just start pushing biking.
We'd like to figure out how to make that so people can access it on their phones. And so we were talking about an app, but the problem is that there's a lot of, connectivity problems with the hills and if someone was out there. But then there's, hopefully what they were talking about is that, they could download it first and then be able to pull up maps on their phone. So we think that that's something for the future. We're going to do this print right now so that he has it available to take to that race or bike ride. And then we'll look into further, having something electronic.
An opportunity, I think I've got an app on my phone called All Trails. It's more for hiking, but is there something similar for biking?
Yeah,
Then once you got it on your phone, it doesn't matter, it's in your phone.
I think
And you
he brought
don't
that
need the
up.
service
Yeah.
to hook it up.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I can download my Onyx stuff, and once I put a folder in the phone, you got it. And that type of thing would probably work pretty well, I think.
We also did have some conversation about signage. So the routes are somewhat inconsistently signed. I think it was the northern routes are signed, the southern routes in the county really aren't. And then that brought up a whole discussion about why that was and DOT regulations and having to call Diggers Hotline, et cetera, et cetera. I do think that that's a, longer-term project and I don't know, who would pay for it and who would take the lead, but it would really be something valuable to get these bike routes all signed so that, you could bring people here and then, you don't necessarily need the thing, you just follow the signs on a route.
If we're gonna make some signs and we're looking at an app or something like this, do you think it might help? Because there's a lot of people that come here that don't have a clue where they're at.
Right, right.
Is put, I don't know what it's called because I'm not into it, that square thing that people take a picture
QR
with.
code?
QR codes
That
would be
thing,
good.
and put that on those signs out in the country.
Yep.
So they're,
That would give
know
them
where the
GPS
heck they're
coordinates.
at.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
that would
good-
help
that-
for a GPS.
That's
Because
a
I
hell of
says,
a
you
good
get them,
idea.
when they come in with this dumbfounded look, and I look at them and I tell them, I says, you know what they're in there for. And I said, too much daylight to be lost, maybe misplaced, but not lost. But I mean, to come up with, you know, something like that, that way, you
Right.
know, everybody's into this technology, and
Yep.
we've got dead spots around here with service, but I mean, the majority of them, I mean, they can go from sign to sign, and they find out where they're at, or a map of the area that, say, we're up in Square Bluff here, well, you can go to Whitehall, Arcadia, Blair, and Independence is from one wrong turn.
Before technology, my understanding is bikers, you know, carried little turn maps.
And a
So-
compass.
And a compass, yeah, right. So anyways, that's,
One thing to add before we get on, I do a lot of e-biking. And one thing that would be good is if, like at our park or any other places, we could designate a recharge station. Different companies, convenience stores that would allow, you know, because I love the idea of biking through Trempealeau County, but that e-bike, for those of us that are older, is really nice for the hills. Been very impressed with the difference that it's made as far as when you go from up on Square Bluff down to North Creek and over to Irvin Schooley, if you can be able to have that recharge someplace down the road or designated, because that e-bike helps a heck of a lot on those hills. And it's beautiful ride. I mean, top of the world, that one is just beautiful if you get a chance to do that.
I assume that means then you have a charger at home?
Well, basically, you got a charger. All you need is to be able to have an outlet that was available.
The reason I'm asking is I'm just curious how much chargers would cost.
Oh, there's different ones. The one that I've got is real cheap. It's just like a regular charge. It's probably about $11 each, $12 for a charger.
For a charger? Okay.
the bike.
And how
But-
long does it take to charge a bike?
If you're having lunch, you could get a nice decent charge that you could get to your next location. That's kind of what I was thinking, that if somebody designated a charging area for an e-bike, and if it would be at the park, that'd be another reason to bring people into the park and put something together like that, so that, or, you know, a stop area. This is a designated bike route stop, and you could give it to places that you have the people that are lost or something to give them some guidance as far as, you know, Quick Trip might be a little dangerous because of the crowd, but, you know, there'd be some places it'd be nice to have the extra
Yeah.
traffic flow
No,
come
that's-
in. And then they're looking for it all the time. They come up North Creek, and then they'll get up to the hill, and they, like you're saying, they've got all kind of questions when you see them, and they've got their full gear on, and I'm sure they wouldn't mind it if we had a designated area for either charging or for a break spot.
No, I really appreciate the insight, because that's something that sounds like it would be a fairly inexpensive investment for some businesses around the county to make. And then that's also the kind of thing that we could very easily promote and probably attract more of the e-bike crowd. And then it also does, on the broader sense, show more that we are bike-friendly, bike-supportive. And that's a win-win. And it sounds like, from what you're saying, the investment is not real steep either.
And the targeted audience would be
Right.
the elder bike riders that
Yep.
can no longer do the Square Bluff jaunt straight up, but they want to still be out there on the bikes. And
Yeah.
we could be designated as a senior-friendly area for biking.
Hey, we might be able to apply for like an AARP grant or something for that.
And for what the idea of it would be is to highlight that you can still get out into the natural environment. We're just making it easier for you. And we want to be welcoming as far as if you're looking at economic development. There's a lot of boomers that still want to be out there, but they don't have much boom left.
Yes, we do. I'm a boomer by like, I think I'm 63 birth date, and I think 64 was the cutoff for boomers, so. I'm a young boomer.
Speaking of boomers, it makes me think of the Apple Fair bike race. Do you know if that still goes on?
Which one?
The Apple Fair in Galesville? They don't do the bike thing anymore? Oh, darn.
No,
Okay.
and I know Trempealeau used to do one too. I don't know if Trempealeau has done that recently. And biking, to be totally honest with you, biking is one that it is a real opportunity for us to promote. And so, I'm not gonna be able to see it through, of course, but it's something that we really need to lean into. because I think it will bring a lot of people. I think a significant number of people probably find their way here anyway. If we just started promoting that, I think it would be crazy how many people would come here. And especially if we could do something with like the e-bikes.
And the crowd that we're getting, like through
Yeah.
North Creek during the beginning of the summer, there'll be groups of 10 or 12 that'll cruise up North Creek and they'll go for the heights, and they've got more invested in their bike and their gear. Yeah, I'm sure if we can kind of keep them
Yep.
in the area, that's going to be a benefit to us
Yep.
economically.
All right, any other questions?
Well, we've got enough lunch spots spotted around the county on the trails that you could just, the country bar thing would seem to be like, if they were interested, a real catch.
The only challenge with the country bar is when you're biking, you're probably less tolerant of adult beverages. So that's one of the challenges. They're looking for something that's catered to them, is what they're looking for. Convenience store with a place to sit and charge your bike. That would be something in the area. I
just
wish there
something-
was one on Square Bluff too, because boy, that'd be a nice
that's-
place to take a break.
That is
Go
actually
ahead.
true.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering if some of those country bars, though, taverns, if they provide a lunch, the bikers would probably sit outside. And, I mean, I completely agree that the bikers aren't there to drink beer. The bikers
Well,
are there to have lunch and be outside
exactly.
and maybe, maybe they have accommodations for outside lunch.
It'd be good to tell them they need to market. Bob?
Is this something we could check into, since the way you sound, Kevin, is very inexpensive? And check into it, and maybe next month, come to a vote, and maybe just put one out at Petrick Park as a trial? Because not only do these people use them for biking, but there's a lot of guys that use them for hunting.
Oh, yeah, that's the
You know, and
thing.
we do have quite an influence of people that use the park with campers.
Is there one
hunting.
charging standard for e-bikes?
I hate to break it to you, Dave. I know the one that I use, but I haven't had to ride somebody else's. So I suspect it's uniform, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I
mean,
could do
just to
homework
some
if you want.
checking and,
Yeah, we
you know,
can-
if we
we
gotta
can
put
look into it.
a test one out there.
Well,
Yeah.
I think Petrick Park is a perfect spot for the county to
Right.
be able to have the first rest station for e-bikes, recharge. And if you put a couple USBs, I'm sure you'll have a crowd there.
Yeah, either Jack or I, or maybe both of us will work on this a little bit and price it out, but, yeah, like I said, this probably wouldn't be a real hefty investment for sure, just to try it out at Petrick Park, but my vision is broader, like, let's see if
There's
we could.
actually a spot on Square Bluff where you could have, it's right in a good intersection and everything, is Fogner's Church.
Yeah.
And that's on the downhill side, so that'd be good for me, because I'd be recovered by that time. I could make the
And
corner.
if you're out on the bike too long, you always got a resting spot.
That's what they need.
More ways than one.
Exactly.
Getting way too far into the weeds, and this is my last question, but.
Yep.
Do those e-bikes, like if you're going down a steep grade, do they do the dynamic recharging?
Most of them don't.
Okay.
That's a little bit more pricey if
Okay.
you go with dynamic recharging.
Right.
Most of them, you need to find a place that, like, I've got a 12-mile limit on mine.
Okay.
And I can ride 12 miles in no time at all and need a recharge. The cheaper ones have a lower capacity as far as for recharge.
If you're pedaling, you get longer charge out of it, right?
If you're pedaling, you don't use your E at all. If you keep it above, like mine, if I keep it above 19.8, you don't use up any of your juice. So that's kind of what the goal is always.
Gotcha.
For me to keep the heart rate up, you try to keep it. But there's some boomers, they're not going to keep it at 19.8 going up some of the hills on Square Bluff, I'll guarantee you.
I just have a comment, and maybe this is something we can look to for the future, but I think it would be really good to have a plan to approach, or a committee, to approach people. But Foggerness Church would be an excellent spot, because that's right by top of the world.
You're on N and you're on County Trunk.
Yeah, and the sign is still there. The world is still painted on that road, which is really cool. And a lot of people go there. This is their indication. This is the top of the world. So at any trail that we would have, and I'm sure Travis would do that, he would put the top of the world emblem at that spot. But anyway, it would be cool to have a charging station at Foggerness, because I'm guessing that top of the world is a huge draw for bicycle riders. It's a beautiful place.
So I did some, grant writing this last month, and I did incorporate, our trails and cycling into the grant. So I appreciate Bob and Kevin bringing up the idea of maybe, pushing it forward. And then the e-bike idea, like my idea originally was for cyclists, and I've got an uncle who, bikes to work. He used to work in the Twin Cities, and now I think he lives in Hudson. So I could definitely, try to bounce some ideas off of him. He kind of knows and travels for cycling and kind of knows what that community really, really likes. But I love the e-bike idea. Maybe there's something dual out there where we could have like a cyclist rack and e-bike option type thing.
Up in the north part of the county, I don't know, is Jim Swartz still on BOA? Does that name ring a bell? But he bikes a ton in the north part of the county. He's just up by south of Osseo a bit, off Iman Road. But he's pretty knowledgeable about that area if you want to contact him.
Last thing I'm going to mention, because I really enjoyed it, is there is a book out called Trempealeau, and it is by an author named John Umhafer, and it is kind of a sci-fi mystery sort of book, and it is it's really worth the read because the description, it's all set in Trempealeau County and part of La Crosse County, and the descriptions, having lived here now for 4 years, the descriptions of some of the places in Trempealeau County, the valleys and the bluffs and the hills and stuff like that, really paints an awesome picture of our county. And I don't know how widely, the book has been circulated and whatever, but I find it a really good read, and several of our libraries have it. So if you don't want to invest in the book, my wife is reading my copy right now, but when she's done, I'd be happy to share it.
Who was the author on that, Dave?
John Umhafer, and I can give you a spelling on that. It is Umhoefer. And I know they have it at the Independence Library. So, and I think that they have it at Arcadia too. So Galesville, I'm not sure about, but yeah, it's just really interesting. The interesting thing is, I don't want to spoil the plot at all. One of the main characters in this book is a cheesemaker in Elk Creek. And I found out that the author of the book actually is a cheesemaker. That's like what he's been involved with. So, yeah, it's definitely worth the read. It's the first book I've read cover to cover in a while, and definitely found it to be well written.
Thanks, Dave. We appreciate definitely a full report, and that was nice that you covered Jenny's stuff, or everything as far as for the Great River Road also, for Gene. Next on the agenda, we have Park Report with Jay. If you could, Jay, please.
Dave, do you mind scrolling down for me? I appreciate it. All right. Just have some pictures on the back end of some of these stuff that I want, just people to see, kind of some of the ideas I'm thinking about. But that campsite reservation system we touched on last meeting, I had my first talk with the lady on Thursday, and I'd met with her previously. But again, I do think it's the right decision, but to get the costs for year one, that's kind of the concern. Is it worth it for the first year? So we'll continue to work through that. I don't really have anything to present there. I need to learn more information. Security cameras, not going to purchase those, or those are going to be coming from the government center. Started working with Jeremy Matheny, our facilities director, a lot this month, and he's been a huge help and great for me to learn from. So we'll see with those security cameras when those come out of this government center or old courthouse, and get those moved into the park, and then think about getting everything on one system. Right now, we have a couple security cameras out at the park, so yeah. Toured Wild Apple Disc Golf Course outside of Osseo. This is a pay-for-play course, about $5. He's got a lot going on, and he's kind of doing it by himself and works a full-time job. So this is what he does for the disc golf course community, so they don't always have to, travel north and whatnot if they're here in Trempealeau County. And he does, work with people individually, and I got some good pictures and good ideas from him, so just stuff to think about for the future.
Who's the owner of that?
Matt Kirchner. It might be Kirchner. I don't know how to pronounce the last name correctly, but he got it from a Don Thickner who
Oh, he
helped
got
with our
Thickners? Okay.
yeah, who helped with our getting our disc golf course in at the park in 2016 with an Eagle Scout. So it was good for me to meet with him because I jotted down a lot of ideas, and that's something I want to do on the back end internally. And I got a couple guys that I'd really like to work with on that. And he donated a basket. We got our hole 2 got ran into. So that was kind of the main purpose I was there. Is he was nice enough to donate one of his older baskets so we could make that replacement without having any costs. So then the next thing is this lower shelter was built in 1987. So it's really in need of an update, I'm thinking. And, Bob and I met with Jeremy earlier this month and had some ideas on what we wanted to do. And I kind of came to the conclusion that, hey, we should probably try to mix Bob and I's ideas and think about some type of half pavilion, enclosing some of it because we already have the electrical in place and the concrete down. But then just closing off one side of it and then leaving the other open, and then think about some type of awning with stainless steel tables. So you could have another option or another shelter option to host some stuff. There's a couple I've seen over the years. This Flag Hill Pavilion in Chippewa was one that was just recently done. I was kind of in the loop on some stuff and in committee meetings, but not necessarily in on the planning during my time in Chippewa with that. And it was a long process because then they were working through with contractors. Some things weren't done right. Floor was bubbling up and whatnot. So they're still dealing with some stuff, but it's a great facility, and now it gets used all the time. And it's a part of that Irvin Park in Chippewa, which is a 394-acre park that has a zoo in it. So this is kind of, the Flag Hill Pavilion is on the top hill of this Irvin Park. And it's a great facility, and I think it'd be one to kind of look at how they did things if we're trying to do something similar. But ours is a wooden shelter. If you want to just scroll down a tad, Dave. That's what ours kind of looks like there. Right now, it's like a good shuffleboard space, basically. I think that's all it could really be used for. We had a couple rentals this last year on it, but nothing to, keep it around. I think we got to do a major update on it. So we have what I'm thinking is a couple shelter rental options, a more affordable one, because our cost is $200, ends up being $216 in camp spot. So if we had a half pavilion, people could rent the outdoor, and then you have a $100 option and a $200 option. Just want to use the facilities we have in our park to our full advantage. So that's kind of my thoughts there, based on our meeting too with Jeremy, is you look to have something that's, dual effective. You can have it indoor option and somehow think about enclosing that lighting. Probably on the panel side box, which you can kind of see where the panel is by the fire extinguisher. Maybe closing that side off and getting rid of the other half somehow. That's just an idea. I think it's attainable. I'd have to get some quotes from some people for that. But any thoughts there?
I think they do have like a half a billion or something similar in Arcadia too, at the park in my neighborhood too, is something to be referenced to.
Okay.
Schultz Park.
Schultz Park has one, huh?
Had we talked one time about that becoming storage and doing something else?
Right, and I don't think that's the right go for that. is we
Did
should
we
be,
vote
because
on
we're,
that? Do we need
we've
to
talked
change-
about our maintenance shop with the
Yeah,
guys,
I
and they
thought
think
so.
it's more than suitable for what we have in our maintenance shop. They do a really nice job of
So we don't need
winterizing.
the storage?
I don't think so,
Okay.
not right now.
So we just open up half of this and put posts under it and open it up? Is that the plan?
Yeah, and then maybe enclose one of the sides with another wall, and you have like, something similar, you know, to these half pavilion structures with an awning on one side.
Well, we don't have water, but we've got electricity. Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think we should work to try to get water down there eventually. Working through some stuff with the state on our campsites, and we're grandfathered in for 3 group sites down there, but the state can see our campground now that we're online. And they saw some stuff where tent sites were not okay to have down there, so I had to close everything out. So it's just stuff to think about, you know, when you got to be very, very careful now that we're online. State can see what we're doing out there, where previously we did everything through Excel sheets and whatnot, and we kind of got away with a few things, I think. But yeah, we'll scroll down. I ended up doing the urban forestry grant that was supposed to be on the agenda for today. We had our DNR startup forestry grant already approved and went through the DNR to do a scope amendment change with them. I didn't think we were going to spend, you know, what is it, $49.87 on tree planting for this grant. So I slashed it in half, and then we had HD tree service out at the park last week for 3 days, and they did excellent work on our lower loop and getting that ready for the Modudoc install that's going to be happening. So, like I said, we had to close down our tent sites, but we are grandfathered in for 3 group sites, so we can still have, you know, some tent camping down there with our group sites and get those tent site people moved around. I think I only had like 4 or 5 tent reservations, so I'm glad. I worked with the health department on that, and they helped me out a ton. It was Kai and Eddie. They helped me out a ton getting that squared away. So, but back to this urban forestry grant, they did great work down there in the lower loop, and then we've still are working through our tree planting. We incorporated J&B landscaping and nursery down by River Valley Road.
Right across the river from the park.
Yeah. So they're a great partner for us.
I
to
agree.
have.
With my farming job, we've hired them for several things. I can back that up. They've done a great job.
And they're very excited about the project and have had a lot of opinions, and that's something that when I've been reaching out to people, a lot of these planters are busy and whatnot, they feel like they have, you know, somewhat of a part of the project, and met with them and conservation one of the days HG was down there, and it was, you know, a good meeting, and then we elaborated off that. I've had some back and forth with them and our park consultant Phil, what we want to do for that tree planting for the Whitehall 6th graders. Those have to get ordered pretty soon, and they just want a confirmation basically as to what we do. We're thinking about balsam. Also, they wanted to incorporate some maples, celebration maples, and what was the other one? Celebration maples are autumn glazed maples on a row. And Phil just wants it to be, you know, all conifers, and thought that was the understanding. So I'm got to make a decision on what I think is the best option. So I've kind of been going back and forth with them the last couple of days about that.
Is that for screening, Jack?
Yeah, yep.
And probably the conifers are gonna give you the most noise
That's- yeah.
reduction and screening.
That was Phil's sentiment.
I did it 30 years ago around our house, and I was just looking at it the other day, and it works.
Yeah. They wanted to incorporate some color though, J and B. So I was like, maybe you do add, a few maples in there. Maybe not a whole row. I think that might be something there, or you can just, add 2 or 3 or something to contrast the color just a bit, or just go all conifer, which.
How many rows are there?
2 to 3. They're kind of staggered based on, we have a planning concept that I put in your guys' packet. Make sure to take a look at that, because that's kind of been the map that we've been incorporating into stuff.
For a conifer, if the soil contrast is right, could maybe slip some tamaracks in there.
Okay, yep.
I mean, that changes color. I mean,
Yeah.
all winter it's gold. It looks like
It's gold,
it's
so
dead.
pretty.
And there's other park project trees that we're gonna be adding too around. This is kind of the initial idea. Got to, probably have a decision by Thursday. I'm planning to get a decision over to JB so I can get those trees. We can get a couple good first steps down for those Whitehall 6th graders and
How big are
incorporating
the
them in
trees
the grant.
again, Jack?
What's that?
What size are these things? What size?
That is also indicated on the map. I think they're gonna be 2 to 3 footers for these ones.
They're pretty good size. then.
Yeah, for,
My experience with them, autumn blaze are a beautiful tree, but they're not very hardy.
Yeah,
okay. Well, good. I'm glad I had this
Was that
conversation with you
maples?
guys.
Yeah.
yeah, they're a hybrid, they're built for looks.
Sure. Well, good deal. Maybe I'll be leaning towards all conifers. That's what committee suggested, and that's what Phil suggested, so.
And you gotta remember, Phil was a landscape architect for the last 40 years. He's not his first rodeo.
So do we have any questions about how I went about the startup grant? I didn't see the need to have so much money in tree planting, and we can definitely use our park budget if we go over funds, but we want to use that whole grant. So working with HD Tree Service on getting a work update for the DNR. And once I have that, we'd pay them for their work. Again, I'd encourage you all to, take a ride in the park. The groundskeepers start today, so the gate will be back open after the vandalism we had. So we're gonna keep the gate open from now on, so, drive back to that lower loop, look at some of the work that HD done, and they did a very nice job. And it would be, I think, a good continued partner for us. All right. That should be good for the park report.
All right, any questions on the park for Jack then, specific to the report update? If not, we'll take a look at the priorities that you have for down the road, Jack.
Yeah, yep. This is kind of actively what I've been working on for the park and overall like concept planning too as well. Not just park priorities, but thinking broad. But Knowles Nelson grant submittal. Most of this is going to be based on the park, but like with our water trail, we're going to be working on Peachick Park being maybe like a host type station. So you have parking lot maybe developed down there, and then right now for the Maji dock, we're focusing on the dock itself, communication with Brian, making sure he's have everything he needs, a concrete pad so the thing can be anchored down properly, and then just called Digger's Hotline for those tickets yesterday, or got my ticket submitted. So working through some of that stuff, excited about it, but we'll go through it a little bit later. Park project timeline and actions and collaborations. Like I said, I started working with Jeremy and kind of bounced some ideas off him, see where those guys can help, so we can get it on his plans, because he's got a lot to do with this building stuff. So we don't want to, overtax them at all with we're starting to work together. So we've been kind of talking, and communication's been good for him and I. I think he might be working on some type of stuff for if he's purchasing stuff at the park to maybe go through this committee. So we'll see how that all ends up turning out. Like I said, Trempealeau Water Trail and Majidak, review and formation of agreements, policies, and procedures. We have our special event document that I've been working on with Susan, as well as, trying to think about our Chapter 5 ordinance. It's kind of a bigger issue, and we want to make sure we're doing things correctly. We're thinking about all aspects of, if we do get the grant and the money to go forward for this park project, what are the plans going to be? So I've been reviewing that, and we're going to try to, push something out, but this is honestly rules that I'm going to be trying to establish and follow for future years. And then working through some signage, and like I said, those campsite communications with the state and the health department. And then the signage is mainly through this BC Enterprise, is another great connection that we've made. They're gonna get me an overview sign, and it's pretty complex sign with campsites, different colors, water and electric identified. And then I was expecting it to be, $300-400, and it was like, for that and to get the equestrian code sign that we need at the start of the park, like it was like $181. So I was very surprised with it being a complex sign. It's going to be steel. So during Ashley, we'll have the option to do, like this little mat that just goes right over the sign. So you can add in our Ashley sites just for that week and then take all that down. And then just have our normal campsites, our 36 RV sites, and then I guess it's only 3 group sites right now. It's good for the priorities. Yep. Yeah, yep. So right now we've identified it's going to be 500,000 that we're going to be trying for, but county would match half of that. It ends up being 498. So then we'd have to fundraise 123. This is all in the cost estimate stuff, and we kind of we've got our framework for fundraising, but we had to, focus on the grant stuff right now. So I'll be working through that on the back end. But yeah, that'll be due May 1. And then, working with Phil on the cost estimate sheet, he should be getting me that. He said he was going to get it to me last week. I'll have to follow up with him. That'll be a part of the submittal. I know that they're working through their designs, but we don't necessarily need to have them by the time of the grant. So there's going to be, 30 pages or so of designs for each item. So it's going to take those landscape architects. I'm sure you know from your time of doing that stuff. It's going to take them a while to pull everything together.
All I can say is congratulations, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a cool project. I think we're going to maybe get some points being a rural county, the large Hispanic population that other people wouldn't. And I've got these boards that I've been using when I talk to people about the park project. Had a good conversation with Osseo Fairchild. They already, took an item, the water table. So they were super excited about it. I wasn't expecting that. So I'm going to continue to just have one-on-ones with these, wood shops, this four school group that's in this region, and then, Cardinal if we need any fabrication type needs. But, just working one-on-one with those guys seem to work. They like to see these boards too.
I think that's critical to put their recognition that they built it, but it draws those kids that worked on it then
Yeah.
back to the park.
Absolutely, and like just keeping everything in county too. It's gonna, be a group effort type thing that we're able to promote. But yeah, any other questions? I'll go through some Knowles Nelson stuff. I said a lot there. we can move on. All right. So this one does have to be motion to have Brian, come in and do the install. He's from Oconomowoc, and he was nice enough to, do a pre-meeting with me, Bob, and Buzz this fall. He made a big travel. I think his daughter goes to UWL, so it wasn't a big deal for him. So he is all for, coming back and doing the install. I've been in talks with them, and we kind of agreed on this price of $2,200 for him to do the install, which was $200 less than what Majidoc offered. So he's all good as long as we get this concrete pad poured, which you plan to do fairly soon. Digger's ticket would be valid by the 3rd. So we'd have to get that thing dug out, rebarbed, help with Jeremy, and then I think we've had some in-kind concrete work done, facilitated by Bob, so I appreciate that. Yeah, so that's kind of where it's at. Doc is over at the highway department. They would bring it over for us. Might have a couple other things for them to do while they're there, helping us with just getting a wood pile out of our shed, basically, and stuff that we can't do, not having heavy equipment. So, yeah, the $2,200 for the install, I'd need a motion to make that happen.
Does anyone want to move the motion to do the $2,200 install for the Majidoc? Is there a motion from the group?
I'll make that motion.
Oh, go ahead.
Motion by Kevin. Second by Buzz. Is that what you intended, Buzz?
Sure.
I hate to put words in your mouth, but it
That'll
sounded
work
like they
just
fit.
fine.
Sounded like they fit, so we'll put those in there. Is there any discussion on the motion as far as the $2,200 install for the Majidoc? Seeing there's no discussion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. We will have the $2,200 install by Majidoc. We don't have to have a roll call on that since we're spending
It's
money.
actually going to be by Flocks of Service.
It's
not
by
Majidoc.
Flocks of Service?
Yep, that's
But it's
his
on the
company
dock.
name.
It's the Majidoc.
Correct, he does
That's it.
installs
You
for
bet.
them.
And will that have to go to the whole board at all?
No, I think it's under a certain dollar.
The dollar value
item,
where we
yeah.
haven't exceeded?
Yeah.
Just making sure we don't cross lines. And normally, if we do it, we have to have a roll call vote for spending, but we must not be to that level also. All right, next on the list, the water fountain update, Jack. I think we went through that pretty good last meeting, but you might have some additional material that you want to explain to us?
Yeah, so Buzz had asked, the goal for it to be installed by Memorial Day, and I kind of, I'll need somewhat help from, with the concrete pad removal and then a wall fountain. Been in talks with Jeremy about this as well. So he had mentioned that $1,800 fountain. We'd remove it and then replace it with a concrete pad pour. And then, if you don't mind going down, Dave. And then we just follow up with Simmons and Aberley, making sure, what we're doing is okay with them, and then probably talking and getting their opinions on connecting to a wall mount there. So I just had some quotes from Jeremy and I with that, and they're pretty confident in being able to handle it before Memorial Day. So I just wanted to update the committee and tell them about that. Making sure we have that wall-mounted fountain. I think that'll be the best going forward. It'll kind of open up that area a little bit, leaving some room for the sign potentially to go there or somewhere else for campsites. Yeah. SRF and Knowles Nelson. We're making good progress. I am personally just going through the grant, answering all the questions and, putting my own twist into things and how we can develop. Really worked out to meet with that horse group when we did. I'll go through that a little bit, but we had a good group meeting with those guys on March 7th. And it was kind of a collaboration meeting and might open us up for some other things down the road. And we had a group meeting with, Becky had called, me to, plan something that with people that have some experience, and we also incorporated our new emergency manager and grant writer, Bo. But mainly trying to work through the grant with a group. I got my write-ups all done by Friday, and they're kind of rough, and there's a lot of material in there. But I am confident of what's in there. We moved into a new funding category with playground development, where stewardship dollars aren't necessarily going to be available. So there's about $560,000 for our West Central region for playground development. Why it's critical that what we write on the grant and our questions is really important, because we've got to, beat out people that have, a park department for 40, 50 years. You got to make sure. So I'm trying to incorporate some knowledgeable people in my writing, so it's not just all on me. Because if it was just, me spewing information into this grant, I don't think we'd get all the points. And it's good to put as much information down, that way we can move things to the proper categories and whatnot. So Adam Trenzo is going to be a big part of that out of UW Extension. Really appreciate Adam's help. And I think between Adam, Becky, and myself, we'll all kind of make sure we're good to go for that May 1st deadline. And it's going to be a big part of the county moving forward. And if you can get this natural play area, I think we all know potential it might have. So all of it's kind of weaved together. I'm starting to connect the dots slowly.
Hey, Jack, I haven't looked, but last year, or I guess it was 2 years ago, when we did the grant request for the rec pond, in that application, there were points available for support from local units of government. And in this case, the town of Arcadia. You might want to just look at the grant application to see if that's still in there, and try and get a motion or a resolution of support from the town of Arcadia yet in April.
Yeah,
that you
I've
can
had
include.
talks with them. They have a new president coming up. So they were waiting till this new president started in April.
Mike Wineski.
Yeah. So I'd have to, when I called them about that comp plan that we were involved with them on, with the park being in the town of Arcadia,
I don't know when they meet, but usually it's once a month, right?
They meet twice a month,
Twice
I
a month,
believe,
so,
on the
yeah.
Wednesday evening, the second Wednesday, and the fourth Wednesday of the
Right.
month.
So,
So I think I got to get in contact with Mike for that.
yep. It's like 1 or 2 points, but it could be a difference maker.
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
And
You
I'm
get-
sure they'd be in favor of it. They'd be very in favor of it.
You get points for the villages nearby too, like.
I incorporated Arcadia and Independence,
Whitehall.
incorporated their ideas on how we could collaborate a little bit more. I talked to Mike, the new community development guy for the city of Arcadia, and then I talked to Kayla, the library programmer, with the city to try and incorporate, what they were thinking of, ideas and why they would bring people to the park.
Do you get any points for including the stuff you're doing, the fabrication? at the
Yeah,
work?
I've also put that in there. Yep. I'm trying to put everything I'm doing into the grant, and we'll determine, what should be in there, what shouldn't, what should be moved, that sort of thing. But it's good that we've got all the write-ups, kind of in draft form.
Do you have any commitments from any local investment yet that would help move
There
this
has
along?
been, with, Dairyland Power wants to help with the horse thing, and they would kind of be involved in that line going through the park, so I could anticipate, having some help
No, I
from
meant to include in the grant app any commitments,
anything what?
any financial commitments locally to conclude with the grant application itself.
I'll have to look into that. I
Okay.
think that's something we could definitely do.
As I recall, in that grant too, and we kind, there were points available for like, energy conservation stuff, so like for solar lighting and so on. So again, and I haven't looked this time around at the grant application, but if something like that was in there and that's something that, you know, somebody like Riverland Energy, you know, could help out with like solar lighting as part of, you know, something, it's another opportunity to get points in the application. So it's
Right.
really important to look at those and make sure we've got something if we can. Just, and I'm sure you're looking at it. It's just a reminder, because that's kind of a hidden little one that we might slip in there.
Yeah, I think like as long as we make the call for some of these and, you know, get some information, have an initial talk, that way you can plan for the future. That all that relationship building is a big part of the grant. And I do remember the energy question now, to where we might have incorporated something about Riverland, but also thinking about solar. Had some talks with Jeremy about that. There's like a green tier legacy program that we talked about yesterday. So that's all, you know, got to try to maximize our points.
Yeah, I was gonna
By
say the
golly,
same
you should
thing.
get, and especially
Yeah.
geared towards the elder in the community.
Yeah, definitely. That and the trees we had talked about, in talking about how trees provide extra canopy, climate
Yep.
reduction.
I put a lot in the tree planting in there. About that relationship.
Well, you ought to self-rank it, go right down the ranking criteria if you were to put the other
sure.
hat on. And
I think the e-bike thing though would be.
It's
it
just
is.
different than other people,
Yeah.
some things. You
Yes.
want to be different.
Definitely looking to the future. I think it's an
Right.
excellent idea.
No, I think that's a great idea.
Probably wouldn't hurt to incorporate the sportsmen's clubs around here too, because of the canoe thing. I mean, you got Arcadia, Whitehall, Independence, and then the county sportsman's club, so, I
Yep.
mean,
They're in there with also the Associated Conservation Club. Had a talk with Bushy about the tree planting. They might want to help, but I don't necessarily know. We'll see with J&B what they think, if they need some extra hands for that May 10th weekend when we've got the White House excavators out. Definitely get some pictures of that too. That'll be great. I don't know if we've ever, you know, done anything with the camp out. They've been doing that for 40 years. And I don't know if the county's ever, you know, done anything with them, so it'd be cool if we can get everything pulled together. So we want to make sure that's, you know, documented in pictures and promoted. All right. Do we have any questions about the grant or updates with SRF? Like I said, don't think those engineered stamped drawings are going to be needed right now, but they are working on those, and they kind of told me, you know, the extent of it.
I guess Bill's part of constructing part of the grant. He's got a lot of experience submitting them. Are you gonna have him do a review before submittal? Has he agreed to do that?
I can see if he's available for the May meeting.
If we got a May 1 submittal date, he's gonna have to review it in April.
Right. Him and I have been working through that, so
Yeah.
if you're comfortable with, you know,
He's got a lot of experience getting those grants. And
yeah, I try to get as much information out of him as I can. And he's, yeah, a great resource for me.
All you got on that then, Jack?
Yeah.
All right, how about we go to that idea on the rodeo and Trempealeau County 4-H horse project at the Petrick Park Horse Arena?
Yeah, so I guess we already have our, you know, the 3-month thing done with having 3 events in a 2-month increment. So just wanted to update you on the date we decided, and that will be June 7th. But we have had some talks in previous meetings to just let Ricardo and his team and them know that, this is our park and decisions have to kind of go through us. So I wanted to update the committee with kind of this report. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but basically, let me pull what I got here. Basically, wanted to help them out with some stuff that, requires, park liability stuff. And right now that's, getting our digger's ticket in. That was part of it. Kind of a cork board and the pay posts getting moved over there, as well as a equestrian sign towards the front of the park. Before we had our pay post in the front, and that was kind of our backwards way of having that approval. But basically, if you have a horse rental, you have to have some type of sign at the front acknowledging, you for liability concerns. So working through that overview signage with BC Enterprises, that is going to be on the ticket. So when we get sent our overview campsite sign, we'll also be sent a equestrian code sign, and we'll install both. But basically, this meeting on March 7th was a great one, and I really want to see, since that horse arena was 4-H developed, I'd really want to see it with our rodeo event add-on being volunteer-led. And just had a couple things, I still need to, I think, update the committee on what work is being done, and it should probably somewhat be approved. If there's going to be major upgrades. So Ricardo had wanted to fix all the rotten boards and, paint the fence like a cedar color, which is like some of our memorial benches out there. It's already that same color, that cedar type red. So that would be, a good thing. And just wanted to update the committee about that and see if there's, any discussion. 4-H horse project was a big part of, everything kind of getting up. So I guess those gravel roads, they were donated by somebody when that first thing came up, like the gravel roads you see at the park. It was crushed rock, crushed gravel, put in around 2008 when that horse arena popped up. And that allowed us to do these RV sites and whatnot around the campground. And now we're thinking about a park update and probably thinking about new roads on the back end for that phase 2. So that's, we want to still honor that agreement. And for this to, take off like it should, I think it's got to be led by volunteers. We've got enough going on, with the park and camping that we've got to focus on that. And if there's a group like the Trempealeau County Horse Group that wants to, take advantage of this awesome opportunity that you might see at Wildcat State Park in Ontario, where they've got 20 to 30 horse camping sites. We just want to model, 2 to 4, start with 2, and then actually have, an all conducive type for someone to actually bring their horse. Right now, it's a lot of unidentified things. Our horse trail runs from Elk Rod and Gun property, goes to a neighboring property, and then kind of loops back. So that's kind of how our horse trail sits. We want to make sure there's, good signs out there. So we've got a good signage company that can help with that now. So it's all kind of collaborating as one. This post-de-excavation wants to, be a big part of helping. He's like, at the meeting, he's like, where do you want me to dig? So that was kind of funny to hear Doug Sokup wanting to do that. And that'd be a good connection for us. So I think he wants to help out, starting with this horse stuff. He's just interested in helping the group and those people. So it's just a good collaboration 4-H. So our UW Extension, Andrea was also there at the meeting. And she kind of works with some programming stuff and might have some ideas on the back end of what UW Extension could do at the horse arena. So, I mean, between the volunteer group, Andrea may be offering some ideas to this 4-H horse group, our rodeo, and then maybe having some excavation help. Really want this to be volunteer-led. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be any type of actionable item right now, because I've got to focus on the grant stuff, but maybe it should be, because this 4-H horse group, they're ready to go. They want to do stuff, and they have things lined up, which were identified in the report a little bit later on. We wanted to start with like an equestrian code sign from me and figure out some corkboard purchasing. And that way we can message properly for like the rodeo events or if there's anything going on at the horse arena, and maybe put some trail sign and information on there. And again, I would want some of that. I would want them to take the reins on some of this, and that's kind of why we called the meeting on March 7th. Is this should be a volunteer-led opportunity, and they want to do it. So they had the idea of being a part of the state's horse council. I think the leader for that her name is Cricket, and there's like things that it open us up for the recreation trails program quite a bit, having an opportunity like this. So I think it's something to definitely think about. But I was just kind of at these first stages of, going through everything with them, and they think they need like a Friends of, like a nonprofit, so they can apply for the grants and then be part of the state horse council. So again, I don't have the time with the campsite stuff and the park, to where I think if they want to, do the work, it could be another great addition, and they'd collaborate with Ricardo too on promoting his event. So I think it's just a win-win. So yeah, I guess I'll stop talking. What do you guys think of just the collaboration? And I don't know if it would necessarily need to be approved, but it wouldn't be a bad idea with it being at the park. If we, look into this in the future type thing, I don't know.
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good fit.
Absolutely.
The horse camping opportunities could be, who knows, that could be regular.
Right. Yeah, that could, because we've got, where we'd want to put the first two is that Savannah Oak area. So right behind the arena, we just had a clearing. I think the highway department did a few years ago. We would want to put, some stalls in there, and they have all the information on how they'd get it done. They have the Highline poles, donated stuff from Riverland, a siding and construction company, donating screening, additional crushed rock, and Doug wanting to help. So it's just a lot of things kind of lining up, and then I have the signage connection for them where we get some cheap signs.
And Jack, I can bring it up with Arcadia Rodeo Club too. That's the group that was one of the initial contributors there. And
Okay.
I'll see what level of involvement they want to be included in also, and at least knowing what's going on. Because we did trail rides out there a couple of times with that group, and we also were the ones that financed a lot of the material out there. So I'll see what they're up to on that, Jack, just to keep them included.
Yeah, and then I think they're going to have a trail ride with about 30 or 40 horses, June 14th or June 21st. So that'd be neat. Okay. You gonna bring your horse, Jack? No, I'll be there taking pictures.
What's that?
Do you want me to ride horse?
Yes, I do. But my horse has probably been out there 3 or 4 times, and it's kind of old, the horse is. I'd be more likely to be there on my e-bike.
You can always wear a
Yeah. The rodeo, we still have the rodeo in Arcadia, but we moved it to where Dave Taysom's is. We sponsor the state high school rodeo there. So that's what that group's mainly involved with. That's how they generated the money for the original input as far as on the arena, was through the rodeo, and we still have a lot of attendees. We've ran it since 2005, the rodeo.
So when they built the new high school, they talked about possibly changing it out to Beatrice Park when that arena got built.
Yep.
And that, and, you know, then they said it would take too much away from, you know, the city of Arcadia. But there was some talk about moving that rodeo to the park.
The distance away from the concession stands, we had a hard time figuring out how we'd run the concession stands where we'd have to travel that distance. And also, it's the only one in the entire state for the state high school rodeo where they're at an event like that. And people didn't want to lose that touch they had with the broiler days, because they get to wear their rodeo outfit down to the dance and everything. They just thought it was a great social event. That's why we didn't take it out to Petrick. But that was the original intention when we invested. And then we had Dave donate his spot, so we had to go with that.
And then I guess the other thing with that is I'm working through, we changed our special event documents. They were labeled something else previously. And now we've got like a small and large gathering that I think we'll be working for special events. And it deals with the number of people and how our current ordinance states. So Susan and I, our corp counsel, identified some corrections that we were gonna do with that, and I still need to get through some stuff with it being, you know, use some other organizations to help, you know, have the right materials in there initially, and working through some editing stuff where things have got to, you know, get converted over. Things are taking longer than I thought they would have. But for an event like in a rodeo, you just got to make sure that the document is as good as it can be. It's a fluent document, but I think it's got a better direction and vision than it did previously. So that'd be a special events for large and small gatherings. Get that sent to Ricardo before the end of the month. Have him sign it, and whatnot, for June 7th. And then I think the other, if we're going like a 2-month increment, you'd probably think about the end of the month and the start of the month, kind of fit it into that. So like a June 7th, I'm not hard set on, you know, if he wants to do it on that last week. We just have to have the proper, you know, gaps to plan. We had 3 in 3 months last year, and it was too much.
Jack, was there a possible action that you were going to request as far as from the committee?
If we're fine with, you know, it just being discussion, I'm perfectly fine with that. And if you guys are comfortable with, you know, me continuing to look more into this, you know, the grant's the priority right now.
Okay.
But they would need, I think, some type of maybe go ahead or approval to you know, look into a Friends of group for the park. So maybe there should be something there.
Well, we can think about it and possibly put it at the end of the meeting for a possible agenda item to come up with and discuss whether we.
That's a great idea.
And we could just include it on our May meeting that we looked at it, we've digested it for a while. What do we want to do as a committee?
Yeah.
Because if you're not requesting anything specific, it leaves it open to us that we should evaluate it.
Yep, and I think it's a good thing for me to look more into this after our grant submittal, and making sure our grant is good to go for the natural play area, camping season, making sure we're all good with campground code, and we're comfortable moving forward. Groundskeeper started today, so just kind of working through some stuff right now where I think that's a great idea. You know, put it in May, and then, you know, think about something in the future. I can collaborate with them and tell them I think we're all on board with it being volunteer-led. And then we can, like you said, Kevin, digest it and come up with a better plan.
Okay, then, if we can proceed to the outdoor recreation update, both Dave and Jack on that one, if you guys want to coordinate how you wanted to explain that to us.
Well, Dave already explained the stuff for that county group. I marked the wrong date on there, so that's actually April 9th. Invited you all to the annual snowmobile dinner. That's happening in Ettrick on the day before, on the 8th. And then working through some water trail development stuff with just communications with conservation clubs and Whitehall Lions. Also in thinking about, reaching out to Arcadia and Indy Lions, seeing, just meeting everybody that's in the crews there and seeing what ideas they might have. But basically, would like to push this Trempealeau County Music Series out this week, and we've got kind of the framework down and have a better idea of how we want to, get information out to the community so we can receive it, and there's not so much looking in at information through emails. Had the idea also of, incorporating county board supervisors possibly in their districts. And that will be something, maybe on the back end, if somebody wanted to, be at the Arcadia one, if they're representing Arcadia in that district, be in collaboration with me. And I think it was one of the city councilmen that did the announcements for Arcadia, stuff like that, to where we can incorporate our board into something that's, I think, was a good first step last year in trying to do something different. Just have some ideas and how we formalize it better, how we can see the information better in front of us, and have an opportunity for all. And then also what was mentioned to me last week, I'm still thinking about how we incorporate events at Petrick Park. Maybe eventually, I like the idea of a polka fest being out there. You could do something for the elderly population, and anyone that likes polka in that matter, to have a nice evening out there. You could also have a Hispanic concert, but we already have the 3 with the rodeo. So I do have that in mind, but I think for this year it's marketing, the great music events that we have outdoors in our county. And that's kind of where that's at.
Any questions for Jack? Anything to add at all, Dave, as far as the recreation report?
No, I don't think so. But between the April 9th meeting and then that do-it-yourself economic impact report for outdoor recreation, I think we're pretty well covered.
Thanks for covering it so thoroughly this time, guys. I know you guys got a lot of work in on this meeting as far as the reports go, and appreciate it. Does anybody have additional future agenda items that we need to look at? Things that we need to make sure we address in addition to support of the Friends of the Horse Arena and Trail System there?
I think we better have a big thank you for Mr. Carlson at his last PTED meeting.
Nope, I'm here next month.
Yeah, you will next month, and we should put it on
sure,
the agenda.
sorry.
You think we should have something to eat is what you're just suggesting? It should be a party. We can do that. I think we have the capability. So as far as an agenda item, we're going to have a celebration of successful conclusion of your term, which is excellent. We also can include any other items that you guys have that you want to do. I know it's donut time of the day, so it could be donuts or it could be hot cider, I think we've had in the past, and coffee.
Breakfast Bloody Marys.
There you go. I know how to mix a pretty wicked one, but I don't put the full meal in it, if you know, Dave. Unless you request the full meal right into the Bloody Mary. Any other suggestions as far as for the May meeting? Go ahead, Bob.
This is nothing with the May meeting, but there could be, if you've got a chance to be in the southern part of the county, the 3rd week in April, we've got the annual flood run, motorcycle flood run. And it's the 60th anniversary of it. So there could be quite a crew. And Trempealeau County is kind of part of it, they cross the river at Winona And the big one is at Nelson where they cross, but I mean, 60th anniversary, that's quite a thing, since the 65 flood.
That's a good announcement just to get out to everybody as far as if they're watching at home or listening right now. Any other announcements? Next regularly scheduled meeting for the Parks, Tourism, and Economic Development Committee is planned for May 6th. Does anybody have any suggestions or alternates or changes that we need to make with that May 6th meeting? Hopefully Lori will be back from Florida at that time. Any other ideas or conflicts that you guys got?
One suggestion is, sometime in the summer, it might be nice if we have a meeting out at the park.
I think we did that in September last year, that we had the one out at the, was that a good time to do it?
We made
or-
a motion or a future agenda item, I think this last meeting, that we'd do it in September
Right.
this year.
That was what we had preliminary, and basically to see how everything had gone from the summer camping season. And then our big thing was to get updated on facilities, I remember, as far as plan. Are we looking to get started with some of the preliminary construction before that September meeting?
For the
For the
playground?
park? Yeah, the playground.
No, I
Okay.
would say this is all add-ons in 26.
Okay, so then we won't look at,
But we are
Any of
doing the
that.
tree planting. We're looking into that as our first step.
all right, that would be excellent to be able to take a peek at the new barrier, the sound barrier of the trees.
You definitely should know by September if you get the grant. Initially, we did not get it 2 years ago when we applied, but then one project ahead of us dropped out that did get funding, and that's how we got funding. So if you're successful in a round one, you should know probably by around that time.
Yep, the problem is that that was stewardship dollars, and there's a lot more available with stewardship dollars than the Knowles Nelson. Doing a playground, just got to make sure we've got all our T's crossed and our I's dotted with this grant. That's why I got this great team helping me out on the back end after this draft form. So I say we're on our way. If we don't get it, we apply again in 26.
All right, we'll plan on then, our next meeting will be at May 6th, 8:30 here at the county board. Seeing no other items of business, we will adjourn this meeting. Thanks to everybody for attending and listening.